So here's my presentation on the history and benefits of the Pilates Reformer. What I'm going to include is the origins of the Pilates method and the key figures, including Joseph Pilates and the elders, the 34 original controlology mat exercises and how they link to the Reformer repertoire, the New York Pilates studio that became Joseph's legacy, so the history and the development of everything that went on there, other studio equipment and the role within the Pilates system, how Pilates came to the UK. There was some litigation in 2000 in the US about whether Pilates could be trademarked, so we'll cover off that as well. The purpose and the benefits of Pilates relative to mind and body, and the differences between the contemporary and the classical uses of the Reformer, and the key design features of the Reformer. So the origins of Pilates. Joseph Pilates was born in 1883 and he was quite unwell as a child, so he participated in lots of activities, exercise and sports to help improve his health. He was actually a self-defence instructor in 1912 and worked for Scotland Yard in the UK, but as World War I came about, he was interred on the Isle of Wight as a prisoner of war. He started there to develop the early system of exercises, and he was using hospital beds and springs, and that's how the early foundations of the Reformer came about. He emigrated in 1926 to New York, where he met his Clara on the ship to the USA, and they together opened a studio on 8th Avenue, and they originally started training dancers, athletes, along with everyday people as well. They created Controlology, which was the original 34 matwork exercises, and they published 2 books, Your Health in 1934 and Return to Life Through Controlology in 1945. Joseph believed that a body that was freed from nervous tension and over fatigue, you would be capable and successfully meeting the complex problems of modern day living. And this is taken from his book, Pilates in 1945. Because when our bodies are free from stress and exhaustion, they become the perfect foundation for a healthy, balanced body, mind, one that's strong and clear and ready to handle the challenges of everyday life. So this is why he developed Pilates. And I've got to remember, he was quite a sickly child. He had asthma, rickets, rheumatic fever. And he overcame all of that by doing all these different types of exercises himself, studying anatomy and bodybuilding and martial arts, yoga, and looking at animal movement patterns as well. And there's a lot of things I feel in the modern age now that have developed from his insights into this. So the original 34 exercises, we have the 100, the roll up, the roll over, one leg circle, rolling back or rolling like a ball, the one leg stretch, double leg stretch, the spine stretch, the rocker with open legs, the corkscrew, the saw, the swan dive, which I hate, one leg kick, double leg kick, neck pull, scissors, the bicycle, shoulder bridge, the spine twist, the jackknife, the side kick, the teaser, the hip twist, swimming, the leg foot pull front and the leg pull rear, side kick kneeling, side bend, the boomerang, the seal, the crab, rocking, control balance, and the press up. So how does this kind of fit in to the whole system? Well, mat work is the hardest part of it, and this is the original 34 exercises, the controlology part of it. And then the Reformer was developed in World War I when he was a prisoner of war, and he was using equipment to help rehabilitate people, essentially. And then we had the Tower and the Cadillac that came along, which was for kind of inverted or upright exercises, and then the chair and the barrels. And the way I kind of see the activities that we participate in with using the equipment is that it's for people that can't do necessarily their mat work exercises, so it gives them options and alternatives, because anybody can do Pilates because it is for everybody. It's not just mat work though; it's the whole. It fits into a system. And then we've got like small props as well, like the magic circle or the Pilates ring. We've got boxes and jump boards, footboards that we can use on the Reformer, mini balls, blocks, things like that we can incorporate into our sessions. The Mat and Reformer Pilates, they share the same foundational roots. In Joseph Pilates' kind of original principles of control, concentration, centering, breath, precision and flow. I forget those sometimes. And both methods, they kind of focus on the whole body conditioning and building strength and mobility, coordination, balance, but also whilst emphasising that mind-body connection, the deep body control. Exercises like the 100 or bridging and teaser kind of exist in both of the repertoires. And the goals and the progressive movement structure is very, very similar, working from kind of the foundational or beginner levels to the intermediate and to the more advanced levels. But there are key differences because mat work is obviously performed on the floor using your body weight and gravity and sometimes the small props. And it has minimal external feedback from things, and it requires you to kind of get within the body in a strong internal control and awareness, so to give yourself that feedback. In contrast, the Reformer uses a spring-loaded carriage and its adjustable resistance that can provide assistance or challenge, and it gives that tactile feedback from the equipment around, from the straps to the foot bar to the springs. And it's often more adaptable to injuries or rehabilitation because you can get a greater range of motion and resistance, variation in movements. But the mat work is obviously more portable and accessible because you can kind of do it anywhere. Whereas the Reformer requires a studio experience or the Reformer experience. But they offer comprehensive and complementary sides to that. They both emphasise the core engagement, the spinal alignment, being conscious, being mindful. But yeah, they both have their place. In development, so it was World War I where Joseph came up with this using the bed strings for the bedridden soldiers and the hospital beds, and this evolved into the universal Reformer, which is kind of used in classical studios today. Obviously, there's more modern contemporary versions of this now. And the method was kind of developed even further for people like Romana Krzyzanska, Ron Fletcher and Kathy Grant, to name a few. And over time, this evolved into the classical and contemporary styles kind of being a little bit split. The modern Reformers feature adjustable spring tension, moving carriages, the pulleys, and optional accessories for modifications, which we will come on to shortly. So it was kind of born out of a necessity, really. When he was in the British camp on the Isle of Man, he began working with the fellow people to try and help rehabilitate them, and it became quite an innovative use of items that he had around there. Obviously, then he emigrated in 1926 and met his Clara, and they kind of developed a wooden framed machine with a sliding carriage, a foot bar, leather straps, and spring resistance. The first kind of generation of teachers, if you like, with people like George Blanchine and Martha Graham, and also known as the Elders, with Romana Krzyzanska, Ron Fletcher, Kathy Grant, Lolita San Miguel, Carola Tuer, and Eve Gentry. They all contributed their own kind of contributions to the method. But in 2000, there was a legal case that Pilates could not be trademarked, and it allowed broader access to the method. So lots of different variations on a style, variations on a theme. And it was a pivotal movement because it democratized Pilates. So it wasn't just for the elite kind of anymore, and it made it much more accessible, while also challenging people to preserve the integrity. I mean, now you can train online, you can train in person, and there's lots of variations on different styles that you can do. So Pilates made its way to the UK through dancers and movement professionals, and it's kind of evolved through physiotherapy, fitness and wellness pathways that we have today. And it blends a lot of the classical lineage with the contemporary adaptations and different approaches depending on the different schools that you are part of. So we've got other apparatus that we can incorporate, the tower and the Cadillac. These can often be used for rehabilitation, for more flexibility and for full body integration, because we can obviously invert on the Cadillac. We've got the chair or window combo and high chairs, and these allow for vertical loading, so pushing down, and obviously help with people who can't get onto the mat. We've got barrels essentially doing the same thing. The magic circle is another prop that comes in quite a lot, so that can be used to help with resistance or help with assistance. The box and the jump board, it just offers a lot more versatility to things. So if we look at some of the benefits that we have, definitely neuromuscular re-education. It enhances the coordination between muscles and nerves for a smoother, more controlled movement, strengthens neuromuscular pathways because of the repetitive and precise movements, and supports post-injury or post-surgery by retraining that functional side. We've got spinal mobility because we've got that encouraging the segmental articulation, so moving through each vertebra, getting the whole spine to work. It promotes a healthy range of movement. It can deepen compressed joints and supports alignment and reduces the rigidity. We've got joint strength and stability because it improves dynamic stability and targets deep stabilizing muscles. And obviously with the spring-loaded resistance, it can strengthen without overloading. And it also enhances your proprioception and your joint awareness, which can help reduce injury risk. It reinforces the correct alignment through core activation and balanced muscle recruitment, counteracts postural imbalances from our modern habits, so slouching. It offers low impact, adaptable movements, which are ideal for injury prevention and rehabilitation, and it strengthens weak areas while avoiding compensation and overload. It has that mind-body connection, so it promotes the mental presence and the mindfulness through the breath and the precision. It enhances body awareness and leads to more efficient, safe movement. It supports emotional regulation in that way and stress reduction as well. And it helps with lymphatic flow and circulation because of the gentle rhythmic movements. So this promotes oxygenation and detoxification of tissues, helping with things like edema and swelling and improving energy levels and boosting your immune system. So if we were to take a look at the classical and the contemporary approaches, so classical can be quite strict sequence and form and flow, and it keeps its origins in the original form. Contemporary is more adaptive, it can be rehabilitative focused, you get a little bit more creative, but both methods are really valid and obviously depends on the people that are in the class, the people that are in front of you. So through the pioneers, the Reformer evolved. So classical Pilates is definitely true to the origins, the transitions and the equipment design, and it tends to stick to the original sequences with minimal modifications. Whereas contemporary Pilates often adapts to the client's needs. It's a more modern approach involving movement science, incorporating influences from physiotherapy, somatics, biomechanics, and fitness. I don't feel there's one that's better than the other. They both have their purpose. And today's modern reformers have kind of retained the spirit and the structure from the original design, but the contemporary reformers now include adjustable spring resistance. They have padded gliding carriages, which are a lot more comfortable. They have adjustable footstraps and headrests, and the strap and pulley system can permit multi-directional movement, and there's optional accessories like jump boards, boxes, platforms, and tower attachments. If we look at the key design features, we've got the carriage and the carriage stopper. So the carriage is the moving part. We have the fit bar, so we place our feet on there. We've got the headrests and the shoulder blocks, and the floor, and the foot and hand straps, that I should say, and ropes, and the pulleys, which obviously move the carriage along. And then we've got the long box, and just looking at the smaller images, the gear bar and the springs. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has kind of explained a little bit more about Pilates to you and the Reformer and the mat work kind of differences. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.